the Marcus Garvey Studies, presented by Brother Minister. Greetings, my African family. It's a very special day today, for more than one reason. But today, my family, I'm going to be presenting to you the story of Marcus Garvey. Now, I'm going to try my best to fit in as much information as possible within the time given to me today to present this. So people, maybe get a pen, get a drink. I don't want to promote smoking, but build it up and get your mind focused into listening to some key facts about the honorary Marcus Messiah Garvey. Many people have spoken about Marcus Garvey. Everybody knows that Marcus Garvey is, one of my greatest examples. So, a lot of people have been asking, Brother Minister, when you're gonna bring out this series? I always like when you talk about Marcus Garvey. So this is the Marcus Garvey Studies. This is the first of 7 episodes that will be dropping, weekly or fortnightly for the people to really study and understand why we say Marcus Garvey. So I think, it's only right that we start this by the words of Marcus Garvey himself. I think that's fair. The people would probably agree. So I ain't going to play too much of it, but I'm going to play maybe 2-3 minutes of it so people get the gist of the type of spirit that we're dealing with here. So here we go, my people.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black, and the green around me. For in the new life I shall rise up with God's strength and blessing to lead the millions of the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a whirlwind or a storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace, I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have advanced through the colleges and universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards. You race of imbeciles. You race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you have better die. Can we do it? We can do it. We shall do it. We have prayed to God for vision and for leadership. And He has given us our universal vision. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to America. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to the West Indies, but a vision that said there must be a free and redeemed Africa. Christ the crucified, Christ the despised. We appeal to you for help, for succor, for leadership. When you endeavor to carry your burden of the heights of Calvary, when white men scorned you, when white men scorned you, when white men spat upon you, when white men pierced your side out of which blood and water gush forth, it was a black man in the name of Simon the Syrian who took your cross and bore it up the heights of Calvary. And now that we are bearing our burden as being so heavy, we just ask that you just help us on up the heights. Oh, yes, the cause is grand, the cause is glory. Surely we shall not turn back. Oh, sail on, sail on, sail on, almighty ship of state, sail on until the flag of the red, the black, and the green is perched upon the hills of Africa. Because the time has come for the black man to forget his hero worship of other races and to create and emulate heroes of his own. We must canonize our own saints, create our own martyrs, and elevate the positions of fame and honor black men and women who have made a distinct contribution to our racial history. Sojourner Truth is worthy of a place of sainthood alongside the Joan of Arc. Crispus Attucks and George William Gordon are entitled to the halo of martyrdom with no less glory than the martyrs of any other race. Toussaint Louverture's brilliancy as a soldier or a statesman outshone that of any other people. Hence he's entitled to the highest place as a hero among men. Because Africa created millions and countless millions of black men and women in war and peace, whose luster and bravery outshone that of any other people. So why not see good and perfection in ourselves? We must inspire our literature and promulgate the doctrine of our own without any apologies to the powers that be. That right is ours and God.
Yeah, man. Hear the words of the man himself. You know what I mean? So you people can get to, get the gifts, get the spirit of the man. You hear, Marcus Garvey blazing. You understand? And every time I hear the man's voice and I read the man's words, it gives a strength to me, man. You know what I mean? Marcus Garvey's words is a strength to all of us. So all right, without further ado, let's move forward on with the presentation now. So for those that don't know, Marcus Garvey was born in St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica on the 17th of August, 1887. And that is the house that Marcus Garvey grew up in. As you can see, they have a plaque. They used to have like a statue of his face there as well, but I don't know what happened to that on top of that that plaque. But yeah, that's the house Marcus Garvey grew up in. You know what I mean? So all right, let's move on, my people. So Marcus Garvey grew up in the countryside of Jamaica, beautiful parish, St. Anne's. So now let's deal with Marcus Garvey's family life. Not a lot here has really been, spoken about regarding Marcus Garvey's early years. Do you know what I mean? Like his family and things of that nature. But what we do know is that his father was a serious man. You know what I mean? He was a descendant of the Maroons. He was a stone builder by trade. He wanted Marcus Garvey to address him as Mr. Garvey. You understand what I'm saying? It's been said that he had a separate place on his land where he set up a library and he spent lots of time in there reading and to himself. Do you know what I mean? They said that Marcus Garvey's father was frustrated. His father would have been born a slave. And these things, one of the things that stands out with the relationship with Garvey and his father is this story of when Garvey was left in a shallow grave for hours. Marcus Garvey, his father, used to dig graves and things like that, you get me? But he left Garvey in there to teach him a lesson. The lesson was that you shouldn't be scared, and you can depend on nobody but yourself. Do you know what I mean? So this is the kind of man that Garvey grew up looking up to his father. Serious man. And if you're from the Caribbean listening to this and you think of your granddad or granddad's friends and that kind of era people, there is a few people that I know that fit the description of Marcus Garvey's father, in the sense that he sticks to themselves, don't really like people, don't have a lot of trust for people. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, but on the other hand, Marcus Garvey's mother, Garvey describes his mother as sober, conscious Christian. He goes on to say she's too soft and good for the time in which she lived. Garvey loved his mother very much. She had great hopes for Garvey. It's said that Garvey's mother was very kind and loving. In terms of work-wise, she used to raise crops, and she also cooked for like a white family, which many people did at that time. And I mean, growing up, she saw something special in Garvey. She believed that Garvey was going to grow up to do great things. And, bearing in mind that she had 11 children, all of them, sadly passed away in childhood, except for Marcus Garvey and his sister, Indiana. So, Marcus Garvey grew up in an environment where he's got, a very strict militant, somewhat to say, father, but then he's got, very soft, kind, loving mother. So he's got a balance, you could say the yin and the yang, if you wish. But yeah, as I was saying, not much is spoken really on Garvey's early life. They always talk about the story where Marcus Garvey grew up with this white girl, and when he reached certain age, the white girl was told she can't speak to Garvey again, and I think that the white girl's family shipped off the white girl off to somewhere else, back to Europe somewhere. But yeah, Marcus Garvey, as a kid, he used to envision himself, speaking in front of large crowds and stuff like that. You get me? It's said that Garvey knew every word in the dictionary, and he used to, make his friends test him on words if he knew the meaning and things like that. He had a passion for reading. He probably got it from his father, because his father was, like I said, had the library. Garvey had the the luxury of reading books in the library from a young age. Garvey developed that love for reading. But yeah, so Garvey leaves school at 14. But even before he leaves school, he used to work with his uncle, not his uncle, sorry, his godfather, Mr. Bowles, who was a printer, and he started learning the printing trade. At that time in 1903, Garvey's mother, suffered great financial hardship because of the hurricane that, destroyed all of her crops. So right about that time, Garvey now reaches 16, and he moves to Kingston. He moves to Kingston to go and stay with his uncle. While in Kingston, he gets a very good job at that time. He gets a job for this big printing company, P.A. Benjamin, and he works there hard, until he reaches, the stage of, or the job of foreman. He's only 18 years old now, and he's a foreman. Not only is he the youngest foreman, but he's breaking barriers, because they import foremen from Canada to Jamaica, etc. But Garvey worked his way up to these positions. At the same time, Garvey starts to be looking at the conditions of the people, and saying, well, like certain mistreatments and stuff, Garvey was seeing. So he forms the Printers Union, and he also releases his first newspaper. And throughout Garvey's life, you'll find Garvey, constantly releasing or publishing newspapers. So the first newspaper that Garvey publishes at this time was called the Garvey Watchman. Like I said, he's in Kingston now. Kingston is a place where it's bubbling with, different kind of philosophies and things like that. He ends up becoming an assistant secretary to the Pioneer Political Party. You know what I mean? The party was called the National Club, and that's where he meets, or he grows this great admiration for a person named Robert Love. Robert Love, now, for those that don't know, let's stick up in there. Before I get on to Robert Love, yeah, let me just add in some other historical facts so we can move on past that. So while Garvey's in Kingston, I'm not sure, for those that are from Jamaica that know Victoria Pier, yeah, Garvey used to be at the Victoria Pier debating, his friends every Saturday night. It's got to the stage now where I think there was a group of people in Jamaica that was petitioning to change the name from Victoria Pier and call it the Marcus Garvey Pier, because of the history that Marcus Garvey at that young age had with that location. In regards of his work, like I said, he formed the Printers Union, which is one of the first unions in the British West Indies. So even now, Garvey is revolutionary in what he's doing. He sends for his mother also to come to stay in Kingston once he had set up himself. But his mother was a woman from the countryside, and country life is different from city life. And it said that she never really liked the city life, and she passed away shortly after. I think it was like 2 years after she actually passed away. But Garvey ends up, setting up this printers union, and ends up siding with with the workers, and because of this, he ends up losing his job at the printery. But it wasn't really a problem for Garvey at that time, because he soon got another job with the government's printery. But now let's move on to Robert Love. Robert Love, yeah, he wasn't from Jamaica. He was born in the Bahamas. Let me just move the slide. Yeah, he was born in the Bahamas on the 2nd of October 1839. Marcus Garvey says, much of my early education in race consciousness is from Dr. Love. He goes on to say in the Gleaner 1934 that the great Jamaican legislator and patriot Mr. Robert Love, who he owe great inspiration. Robert Love, though, was from the Bahamas. He went to America and studied in Buffalo for a while. He fell in love with Toussaint. He fell in love with like the Haitian Revolution and things like that. You get me? This was the first mankind like that will come out and be telling black man, don't be looking at white people like you're some superior, like they're superior to us. Like, don't have no inferior complex when you're dealing with these people. We're just as good as any other people. He sets up a famous newspaper called the Jamaican Advocate. It was very influential at the time. If even when you're looking at certain concepts of, women having the right to education and things like this, he believed that, everybody should be educated, the black man and the black woman. He broke down social ideas and definitions. You get me? Robert Love was a legend in his own rights, and it's surprising that people don't really hear about Robert Love today. He also was involved in politics as well in Jamaica. He sat I think he sat on I think he was St Andrews. He was a part in something, but he got a seat in Parliament or whatever. He was a serious man in Jamaica, man. Like I said to you, and he had that philosophy that black man can do anything that any other people could do. And for that, Garvey, was inspired, and rightly so. So I want to, big up Robert Love, the spirit of Robert Love, and we move forward. I would say to the people listening to this now that they should go and research Robert Love. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of us revolutionary people, we don't get to hear about, because different reasons even why we don't get to hear about them. But the ones that become aware of certain people in our history should, make it their duty to inform others about such people. That's why I'm even doing this Marcus Garvey presentation now, because it's needed. And I know certain things about Garvey's, and I'm saying, I'm going to pass it on, because it's not worth me, one, having the knowledge to myself. It doesn't make no sense. So for a while, Garvey's there, getting into a little bit of trouble here and there, fighting colonial ideas and stuff. He decides to travel. So he leaves Jamaica to go and stay with another one of his uncles in Costa Rica. He gets a job while he's in Costa Rica as well, on a banana plantation. He didn't really have that job for too long, because the conditions in Costa Rica at that time were so harsh. Like, Costa Rica was, you had robbers robbing, the people coming in. People would put their money into banks and the banks would disappear. They run out of business. So there was really a lot going on in Costa Rica that forced Garvey to kind of, organize himself. And when he looked around in Costa Rica, he didn't see any organization, anything champion or defending the people. And as you can see, there's a kind of theme going on along here where Garvey was defending the workers, the poor people. So he didn't keep his job on the plantation for too long. He then gets a job at the Caribbean seaport, and that's where most Caribbean, at the docks where most Caribbean people was, at that time. While Garvey is in Costa Rica, he starts up another newspaper called the La Nation. As a way to inform people and get people organized. That this is the way to, tell people of what's going on and where we can meet up and the new things that's going on in town. Soon Garvey had become, a problem in Costa Rica. And, the British authorities began to look at him with suspicion now. And they started to say, wow, this guy Marcus Garvey is a bit of a troublemaker, People are saying that while he was in Costa Rica, he was jailed and he was deported. I'm not 100% sure on if he was deported. I'm not sure. According to Tony Martins anyway, what has been proven that Garvey was arrested for urging the workers to fight for better conditions. So you're trying to motivate them to say, yo, fight, man. Do you get what I'm saying? So he was and then Tony Martins goes on to say he was either expelled or he left the country to escape the authorities of Costa Rica. One thing for sure is that the authorities was happy to see him go. You know what I mean? So while this time Garvey travels, around the West Indies, traveling through Central and South America. He's gone to Panama, Chile, Peru, just to name a few. While he's in Panama, he also publishes another newspaper. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said to you, Garvey is for newspapers, and you can see that theme throughout his career as well. Garvey's always writing, and if newspapers, I guess, would be like, you know, the internet today. Do you get what I'm saying? In terms of the way people use it, that was the means back then when people didn't have maybe TVs in their houses and things like that. You know, people would get a newspaper and they would read it to get the latest news around the world. You know what I mean? But when Garvey was traveling through like the Latin Americas, you know, it's been said that, you know, was a huge you know, eyes opener for him, or eye opener for him. You know what I mean? Because the conditions, yeah, that they were living in just to make a living, like Garvey couldn't believe it. You know, he returns back to Jamaica after this, you know, and it's said, yeah, by his wife that he was sickened with fever, you know, and he was also sick at the heart over, you know, the conditions of our people, man, you know, and how he wanted to help. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, just by seeing that. But anyway, Garvey at that point makes another travel. You know, in 1912, you know, Garvey travels to see his sister. At this time, his sister's left Jamaica and she's living in England. She was looking after some white family's children. But while Garvey is in England, he gets a job at the docks. But he gets to travel a lot. So, you know, he's in London, he's in Cardiff. You know, it's said that he attends Birkbeck College in London. And, you know, he has his fair strolls through Speaker's Corner at that time. And he said he was just fascinated over Speaker's Corner. While in London, though, however, Garvey didn't publish any paper. But his writings appeared in various publications. He also, what a lot of people don't know or haven't shared, is that Garvey traveled to Italy, France, Spain, Austria, Hungary, Germany. Where else did he travel? I think that was it. But he traveled. The British Isles. But while he's in London, he's also traveling Europe. But in 1913, you know, Garvey, he's blocking it. You know, he's spent out all of his money. But however, he was lucky to get a job now. So this is where people mention that he meets Noble Drew Ali. I'm sorry, my apologies. Not Noble Drew Ali, Deuce Muhammad. Deuce Muhammad, for those that don't know, was a writer. He was in Nigeria for some time as well. He had a newspaper at the time, which was a huge, popular newspaper called the African Times and Oriental Review. Garvey got a job there. You can actually find an article written by Garvey called The British West Indies in the Mirror of Civilization. So if anybody wants to see any of those early writings, that's the title of it. I've seen that one, so I know that you can definitely find that one online. Okay, so now here we have Garvey returning back, you know, due to financial struggles. He leaves Southampton and then takes the ship home back to Jamaica. And while he's taking, you know, or returning back to Jamaica, you know, he reads Booker T. Washington's book, Coming Up from Slavery. And at that point, you know, it doomed on him that he can't just escape this situation that we're in. He can't just not do nothing. Like where he's gone around South America, Europe, whatever, and seeing black people's conditions, he's saying that he can't not do nothing. He has to do something, you know. And he said he asked this question: where is the black man's government? Where is his kings and his kingdoms? Where's his presidents, his country, his ambassadors, his army, his navy, his men of big affairs? I could not find them. And then I declared I will help make them. So at that point, that's when Garvey, decided now that he's going to work for the upliftment of the race. A lot of people think that that meant that Garvey read that book and decided to do that. No, it was when he was reading that book and he was reading what Booker T. Washington was doing and things like that, he was saying, you know what, sure, I'm going to have to do something, after reading that book. And he gave credit to Booker T. Washington for that. And he wanted to create a Tuskegee institution, which is what Booker T. Washington had in America. But at that moment, anyway, when Garvey returns back to Jamaica, the UNIA is born, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. At the time, it was the Universal Negro Improvement and Conservation Association and African Community League, but those things were dropped. It was left there, the UNIA. He also meets his first wife, Amy Ashwood, shortly after arriving back to Jamaica. A lot of people think that she was instrumental in building the organization, which I have to give my fair dues and say she was. However, Garvey had already created the organization a month or two before he even met Amy. But the very first meeting, or we could say members meeting, that he held was held in Amy's mother's house. So we can't deny that she was a part of it. But Garvey meets Amy Ashwood at a debate in Kingston. She was blazing, very well spoken woman. Garvey, was impressed with her. You know what I mean? Her debating scores. I'm actually doing one of the other series. A part of the Marcus Garvey studies will be about Amy Ashwood versus Marcus Garvey. So that's a whole nother story. Be sure to tune in for that one, because that's going to be an interesting one, because a lot of people are not speaking about that element. Maybe they think it will maybe do more bad than good. I don't know, but I'm going to be speaking about it still. So tune into that episode of the series. That episode of the series is gonna be mad. So when the UNIA was created, these were the aims and objectives. So there was two of them. There was one for the local, and there was one in general. But as you can see, it was mainly to establish education and industry, day or evening training college, which is what I was saying about the Booker T. Washington, and things like that. You get me? But if you look there, the date here is October. So that's probably why people are saying that Amy Ashwood was a part of it, because when he decided to put this out, the date, I think he met her in August. But anyway, where are we now? Garvey. So I'm gonna have to go back a second, because I did kind of leave it there, but if you look at the aims and objectives, he wanted to create some love amongst the race in it. So he wanted to promote spirit of racial pride and love. It goes on to say to reclaim the fallen of the race. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, Garvey wanted to help our people, man, and you can see that from the aims and objectives. And if you look at the last thing with the motto, one God, one aim, and one destiny. You understand? And that motto was carried right across from 1914 when this was written till he passed away, and I still be, the UNIA up to today still carry that motto of one God, one aim, and one destiny. So all right now, so we've covered the early stages. So what we have now is a young fiery Marcus Garvey that wants to build his organization. He initially Lee's wanted to go meet Booker T. Washington. So early 1916, Garvey leaves to go to America. He intends to go on a speaking tour, trying to raise money for his organization. He traveled America for months, up and down the country, speaking to people, and all of those things. The actual date when it says that Garvey arrived in New York City was March the 23rd, 1916. It says that Garvey moved in with a Jamaican family in Harlem and got a job as a printer. He didn't have that job too long. By May, Garvey had his first speaking engagement at St. Mark's Roman Catholic Church. This is the famous speech where Garvey fell off the platform while he was speaking. But he traveled to like 38 states within that year of being in America. I think round about, so we were in 1916. So we, round about 1918, at the end of 1917, 1918, I think Garvey realized now that, I'm gonna have to build the UNIA in America now. After he's traveled around and seen the conditions of black people in America. And then, what you also have is the leaders that black people had at that time in America, weren't doing nothing for us. Kind of similar to now, to be honest with you. And, that didn't really sit well with Garvey. There's a time when he says that he goes to the NAACP office in New York, and when he goes in there, he can't see a black man in there. I'll be a white people in there. You know what I mean? But yeah, so when Garvey starts to organize in America, slowly but surely, yeah, like Garveyism, or the doctrine is taken off. So by the end of 1918 to 1922 now, after you've had the first convention, Garveyism is like a huge factor in America. And when people say, "Oh, but what is Garveyism?" Well, Tony Martins and others have explained Garveyism simply in three things, or three major elements, which would be like, number one, raise first. Number two, self-reliance. Number three, nationhood. Now, raise first is basically, striving for the best for your race, to put your race first in everything that you do. Support your own businesses, support black professionals, black writers, black athletes, anybody black that's doing something from that, they're putting their race first. So, we support our people, innit? We don't mash down our people, man. We've got a common connection with our people. So when they're doing something, we support them to the fullness. Garvey, raise first would also be seeing beauty in your own kind. Not bleaching your skin, not trying to look like others, having our own standard of beauty. Garvey objected against black people marrying white people. He said that people that do that are dissatisfied with their own race, in it, so they're gone outside and he wasn't going with that. So throughout Garvey's history or organization, there has never been, to my knowledge, a person that had a position in the UNIA and had a woman or had a man outside of the race. That was a legal thing for you to do. I think you will probably be expelled from the organization, or you will be at least, removed from your position if you got caught marrying outside of your race. Race first could also include history. Garvey explains that history is written with prejudice, and he goes on to say that there's never been no white historian that's ever wrote anything true, or written anything with any love for us as a race of people. Do you know what I mean? So that will be one element. Also, history, religion as well. Seeing God through your own eyes. Garvey said that every nation or every human being sees God through their own spectacles. The white people see God through their own white spectacles, you get me? And we, should too, start to see God through our own. And Garvey was instrumental in doing so much so that in 1921, the UNIA founded the African Orthodox Church. So when people like to say, oh no, Garvey was a Catholic, or Garvey was a Muslim, or whatever the case may be, the facts of the matter is, when it came down to organization, Garvey set up his own religion, which was the African Orthodox Church. Garvey does not fit into Catholic. Garvey didn't see God white. Garvey, throughout his career, is telling you to see God through your own eyes. See God through your own experience, and stop trying to put white people as God, Chinese people as God. It's like, even today, this is why I say Garveyism is still important, because even today we still struggle with that, with being raised first. You know what I mean? All right, but let's move on anyway. The second would be self-reliance. Self-reliance is kind of, self-explained, but, Garvey says, we must have justice. We must be strong. And if we are to be strong, we must come together. And if we must come together, we must have organizations. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the UNIA branches all over the world must be self-reliant in any which way they can, or they could. And Garvey set up things like the Negroes Factory Corporation, the newspaper, the Negro World, the Black Star Line steamship, so much different companies and businesses, and meeting the needs of the people that Garvey set up for us. And thirdly would be nationhood. Garvey felt that we would never get any respect anywhere until Africa is liberated. Do you know what I mean? It's fundamental for Africa to be liberated if we are going to be strong wherever we are in the world. So so that's the main three principles, you could say, of Garveyism. But Garveyism was spreading like a wildfire, as I've said. Tony Martins writes in the revolutionary upheavals in Trinidad in 1919. Yeah, he's writing about the revolutionary upheavals in Trinidad in 1919. The Journey of the Negro History, page 58. He says that the Negro world was already reaching places as far as Panama, and throughout the 1919s, Garveyites was blamed by colonial authorities for anti-white riots in Jamaica, Trinidad, and the British Honduras, among other places. So, that spirit, that Garvey spirit, was spreading amongst the Caribbean, was spreading amongst the Americas. The people was rebelling in their mind. They were giving back to Caesar what is for Caesar, and they was taking on the responsibilities as a man and trying to do for self. You know, and one of the major things that Garvey did for the young was teach young children to love themselves, which is very important. And here you see a picture of a young sister holding one of the Garvey UNIA dollies that they created for the children. And there was a documentary maybe about 10 years ago where it was talking about, or where they showed young black children, two dollies, a black one and a white one, and they asked them, which one do you think is beautiful? And they all picked the white one, and they asked them, what's wrong with the black one? They said the black one is ugly. Garvey was trying to challenge this in 1919, 1916s. Yeah, we're in 2020, and right now, yeah, we still face the same problems, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. You know, Garveyism is needed now more than ever. You know, Garvey was creating a storm in America at this time. You know, the NAACP, I'm doing a whole lecture on Garvey and his enemies, or the enemies of the race, yeah? And you will see how all of these people came together to destroy Garvey. They had the Garvey Must Go campaign. You know, we had Du Bois dissing Garvey, calling him an ugly black person, and he's definitely got strong features, and drawing in their newspapers, mimicking Garvey any which way that they can. And Garvey, you know, ends up making enemies with these people. You know, that they're supposed to be on the same side as us if they're caring for the upliftment of the race. But Garvey's come into an area or an environment where the light-skinned people of America are part of the ruling class for the black people. And Garvey's come in, and, you know, he's shut that down. There's a time where he's gone to this famous church at that time. And the way how they set up the church is all of the light-skinned people at the front, and, you know, it gets darker as you go to the back. Now Garvey's walked in there, walked right up to the front and sat down. You know, it's been written that the pastor or whatever got so annoyed that he almost wanted to fight Garvey for what Garvey did. You had societies like the Blue Blood Society. I think there was a society with the West Indian version. I think it was called the Colonial Club. Colonial something, anyway, if it's not called the Colonial Club, where it was just light-skinned people, you know what I mean, that come together and organize amongst themselves. And what they basically wanted was to rule the darker skinned people in the race. You understand? On behalf of, like, the white man deal with them and they deal with the darker skinned people. And, you know, Garvey weren't going for that. Garvey exposed colorism in America, like, to the point that people don't like him for it, till they accused him of not liking light-skinned people. And Garvey states that, you know, what has happened before, nobody had no control over that. So, you know, so for a person being mixed race or whatever, they didn't have no control over that. Garvey just said we shouldn't continue that. You know, Garvey took mixed race people in the UNIA if they worked for the upliftment of the race. He didn't treat them any different. What Garvey didn't like, though, was that mentality that I'm light-skinned, I'm better because I'm closer to white. Garvey didn't like that. You know, so he created many enemies in America, including the biggest movement at that time of black people that was run by Jewish people called the NAACP. And they was relentless in their attack on Garvey. You know, if Garvey didn't get arrested, they would have killed Garvey somehow. So, okay, now, Marcus Garvey is shot. A lot of people don't know that Marcus Garvey was shot 4 times. You know, he was shot in the right leg, the right side of his scalp. Do you get what I'm saying? With a 38 caliber revolver. But so the backdrop to this is, yeah, there's this member of the authorities called Kilroy, right? And Kilroy's got it in for Garvey. Kilroy doesn't like Garvey wanting to open up the Black Star Line. He doesn't think that that's something that black people should be doing. So he wants to stop Garvey in it. So basically, yeah, he summons Garvey, yeah, about 17 times to bother him and harass him about this Garvey movement, because he's suspicious about Garvey's movements. Garvey was already an important figure in Harlem at this time. So Garvey anyway ends up just getting frustrated, yeah, at my man's consistency to just piss man off. You know what I mean? Just keep bothering him, man. So Garvey writes about him in the newspaper, and then Garvey ends up getting arrested for what he says. He ends up taking back what he says, and they let him go. So by October or September, yeah, the Black Star Line, yeah, was in effect in it. So by September, it's done in it. It's been made. So next month, yeah, October, a man by the name of Tyler comes to the office, yeah, and says, Kilroy sent me in it. And as soon as he's seen Garvey, he starts shooting at him like a madman. Garvey said that he was hit, he was struck, and he dropped. He fired 4 shots. Garvey was then taken to Harlem Hospital. The guy Tyler was arrested the next day. Him thinking that Garvey had died, thinking the job's done. I think he must have become aware at some point, maybe. If not, I don't know. But he ends up killing himself, allegedly. He commits suicide in jail before he can be taken to the court. I don't know why he committed suicide. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It doesn't really make no sense to me why he committed suicide, to be honest with you, unless he was going to snitch on who sent him, because he tells Garvey Kilroy sent him. So if he's going to start snitching in court and, it comes out that the police or the authorities have sent him to do this crime, it could be a problem. So maybe that's the reason why he commits suicide. But this is an official picture of the Black Star Line. I'm gonna be doing a episode on all Garvey's business enterprise for you people anyway. So we're gonna move on because of time. This is a picture of the first convention. The convention, yeah, took place here it opened up in Liberty Hall. It had 2,000 delegates, from 22 countries around the world. It had a huge parade through Harlem, which featured, the Black Star Line Band, the African Legion, the Black Cross Nurses, delegates from all over America, Canada, the Caribbean, Central America, West Africa. It had the UNIA Motor Corporation. They had so much going on, and then they had a mass meeting at Madison Square Garden that they estimate at least 25,000 people was in attendance. One of the things that came out at that convention was the Bill of Rights, the red, black, and green flag. The Bill of Rights is very important. Because the Bill of Rights is basically telling the people that we're organized, innit? Yeah, and we're looking at the wickedness that you're doing to us, yeah, and we know it's not fair, and it's not just, and we're demanding justice, innit? So that was an important bill. Right, this is an image that I found online while I was researching Marcus Garvey. So, as you can see, this street here, I think this is 135th Street. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but as you can see, he's got two UNIA offices. He's got a grocery store. He's got a restaurant. The following street, he's got the I think that was called the Booker T. Washington Hotel. He's got a printing company. He's got restaurants. This is just in Harlem alone. You know, in Harlem alone, he hired 1,000 people. It's been written that when people used to go for jobs, it got so bad that the white man said, "Why are you coming to me asking me for jobs? Garvey's got all of the jobs. Go ask Marcus Garvey." You know what I mean? So yeah, so you know, Garvey was on stuff, man. So this here now is the number of branches. So in the 1970s, they found the UNIA records, which included membership files and things like that. So altogether in America, Garvey had 725 UNIA branches. And if you look at the first three, they're all in the South. Where it's got the most number of chapters, like 74 chapters in one area. You know, the South have a rich history of Garvey's support. You know, because if you look at what they were facing wicked Jim Crow laws. You know, so what Garvey was saying, yeah, it resonated with them differently. So outside of the UNIA, you have the most branches in Cuba and Panama. So I mean, you know, you guys can pause it later on and, you know, can go into and look further. But moving swiftly on. So Garvey wasn't killed by the shooting. A couple days after the shooting, he speaks, and he tells the story of what happened, and he bigs up, you know, the helpers who helped him and things like that. Garvey ends up getting arrested, yeah, for Melford. You know, to me, the whole thing is a setup from the beginning. It don't make no sense. No evidence they brought to the table made any single sense to me. Even before the trial starts, Garvey petitioned for them to change the judge that they brought to the table. So the judge that they brought to the table. So I'm gonna mention this part of it, and then I'm gonna move on because of timing there. But before the trial starts, yeah, they bring in this NAACP members judge, and Garvey was like, "Hold on a second, man. This is some setup. Like, come on, man. Like, this man clearly can't be just in dealing with my case. He doesn't even deny that he's with the NAACP. He doesn't even deny it. But Garvey, you know, was denied, you know, the right to change a judge. You know what I mean? So you could probably see from that point, yeah, that it was all a setup. So they got their judges in the place. You know, what you got to understand, yeah, like the Garvey Must Go campaign, yeah, that took place about maybe 5 months before Garvey was arrested. But majority of the people or the signatures came from NAACP members. They, you know, the voice is gone out into the public and said that Garvey is the greatest enemy to the black race. So they want this guy gone, yeah. Period. It wasn't FBI. They were called the Bureau of Investigation at the time. They want the man gone, yeah. So you got black people want the man gone, white people want the man gone, Jewish people want the man gone, because this judge is even a Jew, so he should understand. You know, it's been said he's a Zionist as well, but you know, maybe he wasn't a Zionist at the time. I presume he was, but he should understand the stuff that Garvey wants for black people, because he would want that for himself and his people. So anyway, the whole case was full of lies. Yeah. people are not even aware that there wasn't just Garvey on trial. Garvey had co-defendants, which they was acquitted of all charges anyway. But the prosecutor goes to the jury, and he goes, "Gentlemen, will you let the tiger loose?" Clearly, singling out Garvey from the co-defendants, and they're referring to Garvey as the tiger. Do you understand what I'm saying? Garvey is a major threat for these people. They do not like this man. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Garvey has to go to prison. So I was moving forward, but before I move forward, I want people to be aware what Garvey was actually convicted for. So there was 2 indictments, which contained 13 counts to defraud by means of sending mail, right? So Garvey was only convicted of 1, and what the prosecutor did was present an empty envelope, bearing the Black Star Line stamp on it, with no letter inside, and the letter was addressed to a Benny Dancy of 34 West 131st Street, New York City. Now Dancy testifies that the government agents came to his house and he handed over the envelope to them. The letter did not come from Garvey anyway. It came from the organization, right? But that's neither here nor there. He even says he doesn't even remember what the letter is about, what was inside the letter. He don't even remember. But nevertheless, by June the 21st, the case concluded and Garvey was sentenced to 5 years in prison and fined £2,000, and he was ordered to pay the entire cost of the trial. During the trial, the judge was all trying to speed it up. You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted to go to a Jewish convention, and Garvey jumps up and shouts, "Wait, what? Jeopardize the liberty of Marcus Garvey? Like, you want to rush this thing? Like, slow down." And I will also mention that Garvey sacked his attorney the first day of the trial, which didn't help him much. You get what I'm saying? And he couldn't get a new one because the trial started, but he just didn't feel that that the guy had his best interests at heart. Garvey was going up against against white supremacy, like the institution. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, it wasn't an easy fight for him, man. Do you know what I mean? So he sacks the attorney anyway. Because he believed that he was in cahoots with the prosecutor. Garvey ends up, like I said, he gets sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now this is Garvey's penitentiary picture and ID number or prison number. So during this time as well, Garvey, got a £15,000 bail. That's how much the bail was, right? So he could, when Amy Garvey, raises the money, she had to raise it cash, but she couldn't even find anybody to be the bonding company. Never, in the end, it was denied, but they took the money, right? And it took them long months before they gave back the money to Garvey. You know what I mean? There's 2 incidents happened in jail. One of the time, one of the screws came over to Garvey and told him not to talk to somebody, and Garvey switched to them. So listen, I can't tell me who I can talk to, And another time, he was sanctioned because he was eating steak, and steak wasn't permitted to eat. Prisoners was on rations. They could only eat certain amount of things a certain day or whatever. And Garvey, was caught eating steak. In the end, Garvey is deported. That's all I can say, man. They deported the king, man. But there's a lot of story around that as well. around the deportation. But that's Garvey in an hour. Do you know what I mean? I tried to keep it within an hour. That's Marcus Garvey within an hour. And there's a quote that I put on here, yeah, and it said Garvey did many acts of kindness to relatives of his enemies. When asked how he forgot the past so easily, he said, "I have to forget my injuries. If I keep them fresh in my mind, the added ones would be harder to bear." Do you know what I mean? Marcus Garvey, bared tribulation after tribulation, and a lot of these tribulations come from black people. Isn't we expect the white people to do what the white people do, but these things is coming from black people as well. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so I hope that people got a rough a brief introduction to Marcus Garvey and who he was, and key factors or key parts of his life. So when I'm wrapping up now, yeah, I wanted to address some things, yeah. So these are the rumors and the speculations surrounding Garvey. So a lot of people come to me and they say Garvey's uniform, right? Garvey dressed like a Mason. Rare, 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 rare. And I'm saying the picture that they normally show, I can see resemblance though, right? Because I don't want to sound like I'm being ignorant. But from what I've been told by the history books and writings of Garvey himself, Garvey based his clothes off of a Toussaint. And if you can see the clothing here, yeah, you can see the hat with the white feathers. Clearly, Garvey's wearing the hat with the feathers. If you look at the sword in Garvey's hands, how it's shaped, it's the same shape as Toussaint. You can see the things on the shoulders. It's the same. People are gonna say whatever they want to say in it, but for the people that want to know the truth, that is why Garvey dressed the way how he dressed, and because because of the winning the Haitian Revolution, it inspired Garvey, and it inspired a lot of black people around the world as well. So yeah, we talked about the uniform, and another thing that people say, oh, but Garvey was wearing this badge, this Masonic badge. And I'm saying, what Masonic badge? This is the African Cross of Redemption. This cross here was made for members. People that donated to the UNIA, they would get a medal. I don't know why people always want to expect the worst. Do you know what I mean? But that's the fact. It's nothing spooky. If you want to take it spooky, then you can do the spookiness. But this is the cross of African redemption. So basically, as I was saying, it was for members. So members of the race who give, $50 to $100 will receive the bronze version. Members that give 100 to 500 will receive the silvers, and whoever, give money, donations, whether it's through the Black Star Line or whether it's those that get loans from the bank, what Garvey was trying to open up. This is how it would work. If you 5 to 1,000, they would receive the gold. The African Cross of Redemption, Garvey says, will be to the Negro what the Victorian Cross of England has been to the Englishman, and the Iron Cross of Germany has been to the Germans. So it was more like a pride element that Garvey was trying to give to the people. You know what I mean? And I like it as well, man. And people used to put it on their uniform and things of that nature. Beautiful. So a lot of the time, yeah, people come to me and ask me about Elijah Muhammad. Was Elijah Muhammad a member of the UNIA? Now, Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, although Elijah Muhammad speaks very, very highly of Marcus Garvey, I have never read Elijah Muhammad say he was an actual member in the Nation of Islam. However, Charles Zamti, who was a famous Garveyite in Detroit, says that, my man was a member. On page 1099, on page 199, I don't even know why it says 1999. On page 199, life for us is what we make it. Building black communities in Detroit. It's quoted Zamti saying, I have to give credit to Elijah Poole of the Nation of Islam. He is a good member of the UNIA and worked for us for many years. And when he came in contact with Farad, Poole left Detroit, and after leaving the Detroit division, he went to Chicago and was a captain of the legions there. He saw the opportunity of organizing under the name of Black Muslim. Elijah Poole was wise enough in arousing the black people here in certain areas to recognize that they must do something. So here we have Zamti saying that, he was a member until he met Master Farad Muhammad, and then he left and went to Chicago. And while he was in Chicago, he joined and became a captain of the legions there. And then he decided, or he saw the opportunity to organize within the ranks and take members, I guess, from the UNIA into the Black Muslim organization in the event of the decline of the UNIA. In the book, The Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad, page 304, it said, in one of her writings, Amy J. Garvey, the widow of Marcus Garvey, describes Muhammad as a corporal in the Chicago division of the UNIA during the 1920s. J. Charles Zamti, who is familiar with the Detroit UNIA, has portrayed Muhammad as an active member of the Motor City branch. So we see proof or evidence that is documenting that he was a member, which contradicts Muhammad's own story. However, it goes on to say it is possible that Muhammad did try to attract Garveyites to the nation by giving speeches in the Chicago UNIA Liberty Hall during the early 1930s. So you can find that more information on that in Marcus Garvey in the Vision of Africa, Tony Martin's Race First, and of course, The Life and Times of Elijah Muhammad. So there you have it. It's clear that he was around the members anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna end it with this last slide because I've gone over the time by 15 or 13 minutes. But Liberty University. Okay, now this is something that that some people are gonna be interested in studying some more, to be honest with you, because it's quite interesting still. So basically, yeah, you have a map, as you can see, of Virginia property acquired by the UNIA. Now, this is the same location, yeah, that a ship of slaves came. It was the second cargo of Africans brought to America in 1622. So this is the same land, right? But bigger than that, the land is now, well, at the time was owned by Nat Turner's grandson, right? So Garvey's bought, or the UNIA has bought this land to set up the Marcus Garvey University from Nat Turner's grandson, and it's also the land of the second cargo ship of Africans that was kidnapped from Africa. Some deep history there, man. There's some deep history there. Do you know what I mean? So we're gonna leave up there. I had a few more slides. I was gonna go into John Bruce and I was gonna go into that, but we'll leave that one there because what I'm gonna do is I only touched on them briefly, but I'm gonna be going into them more deeply on the next episode. So here's a a group or a list of books by Marcus Garvey that you could get your hands on. The Marcus Garvey, this one here, the Marcus Garvey papers. There's 10 or 11 volumes. There's 10 or 11 books in a volume. They're huge books. You got Garvey and Garveyism, which was written by Marcus Garvey's wife. You've got Message to the People, Raise First. You know, these books I kind of, you know, co-sign, you know, as authentic Garvey books on the market. And there's others, but you know, you have to crawl before you walk. So yeah, anyway now, so remember, we've got the Marcus Garvey Untold story, which is this. We've got Marcus Garvey versus Amy Garvey, the battle of the two Amys, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, where I break down the ins and outs of the UNIA, the Negro's worst enemy, and Garveyism is the solution. My Instagram is I am Brother Minister. Also at AWF_One Nation, and my YouTube channel is AWF TV. You lot tune in. It's gonna get hotter. It's gonna be a warmer summer, and it's gonna be a warmer winter this year. We're giving Garvey to the people like they've never had it before. You know, I've never even done a presentation on Garvey before, so you know, this is a change for me. I don't normally do presentations, but at the same time, the information is here for my people, and I have to give it to them. It's fundamental that they get this knowledge. So I hope that you lot enjoyed the presentation. I hope that you lot got you know, an inspiration. I hope you lot got, you know, some new information. But yeah, we're gonna continue with the next series. So, you know, tune in. Stay black, stay alert, and stay alive.